The Corcoran Entertainment Show is brought to you by Podmatch, the ultimate platform designed to connect podcast hosts with prospective guests effortlessly. Are you a podcaster looking to elevate your show to new heights? Or perhaps you're a guest hoping to share your story with a broader audience. Whatever your podcasting goals are, we have the perfect solution for you. Podmatch simplifies the entire process of discovering guests for your show or finding podcasts to feature your expertise. Now imagine a platform where you can easily match with like-minded creators tailored specifically to your niche. With Podmatch, you can effortlessly network with influencers and thought leaders, all while staying true to your podcast vision. There are a multitude of ways that Podmatch can help you grow your brand. You can be part of a thriving community of podcasters and potential guests. Engage, collaborate, and grow together. If you're ready to experience these fantastic benefits for yourself, we invite you to join Podmatch today. Head over to www.joinpodmatch.com/Corcoran Entertainment and sign up right now for only $6 a month. That's right, you heard me right, $6 a month. Join the Podmatch family today and watch your podcast soar to new altitudes. Thank you for tuning into the Corcoran Entertainment Show, and happy podcasting. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran. How's everybody doing? Everyone having a good month? Christmas shopping all started, things like that. Before we start the show today, I just want to give a quick little plug for anyone who's locally listening to this. I'm very excited to be working with the St. James and St. John drama troupe. We are presenting Christmas Cruise, a dessert theater, ready to set sail November 28th, 29th, and 30th at the United Church Center, 556 King George Highway. It's a very, very funny show. It's a lot of fun. One of those shows you can just go in, have a great time, enjoy it, and also get some desserts as well too for the low price of $20. It doesn't get any better than that. Great cast, and I'm happy to be part of it. And so tickets are $20. They're available at the United Church office or at Dickinson's Pharmasafe. And be sure to come on out because they are going very, very quickly. So make sure to get those ASAP. Just wanted to give a quick little plug for that. So that's all the stuff that's going on locally this week. And hopefully everybody will come on out. That's next week, actually. It's not this week, but the following week. So moving on to our show today, the guest. I have a very exciting guest today. Also because, so I talk about this a little bit on the show, but I'm currently working on a book. I'm working on a book. It's I don't want to say too much about it right now. But it's kind of, somewhat ironic that I ended up booking a book publishing expert as I'm writing this. It's kind of interesting. So she was absolutely fantastic. She was a delight to talk to. Laura Stanfill. She started her own publishing house, Forest Avenue Press, back in 2012. Just very, very smart. She is also the author of her latest book, Imagine a Door, which is available wherever you get your books. And very excited that she was able to take the time to come on. We talk about a lot of things, publishing books, the process behind it. That's why we call this episode Book Publishing 101. And I learned a lot as well, too, as somebody who's trying to get a book made. So thank you, Laura, for coming on. Guys, so I'm going to put the link in the episode description to Forest Avenue Press's website. Be sure to go check it out. And so if you guys enjoyed the episode, always be sure to give us a nice review, rating, whatever the case may be. Helps keep the podcast going. And so without further ado, guys, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show today. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran, and today I am joined by a published author who started her own publishing house back in 2012 and still going strong. Her new book, Imagine a Door, is available now wherever you get your books, Amazon, and we'll also put the link to her website in our episode description. Very excited to have her on here today. Laura Stanfill. Laura, how are you today?
Good. Hi, Frankie. Thanks for having me today.
Yes, well, thanks for coming on. And I just gotta say, so it's kind of funny when you look at when you started your publishing house, how it was just you had no experience with running this type of endeavor, and you're kind of just like, just see what happens type deal. Is that kind of how you started it? Like just, yeah, maybe we'll do it for a month or two and see how it goes, and then here
Yeah,
we are, all these years later, it's still going strong.
absolutely. I would add a little sleep deprivation and new mom angst to that mix of what got me started in publishing. But yeah, that was basically it. I had been writing seriously for many years. I've been taking workshops and classes and really committing to writing novels, and I didn't have anything published. And so when my second child was born, she was really colicky. And for some reason, the combination of her colic and those late nights got me thinking that I needed to do something with my brain that would help other people, not just continue to slog away on these novels of my own. So I started a publishing house and figured I would start with one book. And like you said, now we're a number of years into it, 13 years going on 14.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. And it's great to see, first off, I mean, congratulations on all of the success that you've made or had through your writing and everything like that. What would you say? Because I've actually started writing my own book, my very, very first book. I've always wrote plays and stuff like that. Now I'm taking the next step and I'm jotting down lots of ideas for a book. What would you say? Would you say, because I know that there's some people who say self-publishing is just as good as traditional publishing, although traditional publishing is more difficult because you go through many, there's lots of people that you got to go through to try to get it published, whereas self-publish, you're self-publishing the entire thing. But you've done this for a long time now, so what would you say is better, self-publishing or traditional publishing?
Great question. And my answer is that it depends on what your goals are as an author. I come back to that a lot when I'm talking to writers about their dreams and their goals, because some pathways to publishing can get you in places that other places can't. So, for instance, I run a traditional publishing company, which means we have national and international distribution, which means that when I choose a book about 9 months before it comes out, I send copies to the sales team at PGW, Publishers Group West. PGW salespeople send those copies out to bookstores, libraries, the big chain stores, and try to get purchases of quantities of our books. And so when you sign with a traditional press like mine, you know that your book is going to be in bookstores. If you, as an author, have a platform, if you have a podcast like you do, if you have an area of expertise, if you are just ready to get your book out, those are all good reasons to do self-publishing. The drawbacks of that are you're limited in getting books into bookstores sometimes, depending on how you set it up and what companies you go with. And you also, as a self-publisher, need to make sure that your books look professional, they're professionally edited, they have good covers, or you won't get into bookstores. But I think there are good reasons to go with both. I always wanted to be traditionally published, and I thought I wanted a New York house. But I ended up falling in love with small press publishing, and my third book is coming out a year from now from another small press. So that's where I've landed, but it took a while.
Right. And yeah, and it's not going to come immediately. Obviously, I mean, there's people who have written books like years ago, and they're still trying to get it published, or maybe they just gave up because they just said it's never going to happen. I've tried, I fail. You know, in their mind, they'll say I failed. But it's a tricky process trying to go through it traditionally for sure. I mean, self-publishing, yes, it has the perks of, it has the word self right in it. You do it, you self publish it, you send it out, and all that stuff like that. Whereas when you're traditionally publishing it, it's not just as simple as here's my book and you publish this and send it out. It doesn't, unfortunately, if that was the case, everybody would be authors. Everybody could just
Yep.
traditionally publish everything they wanted, but unfortunately, that's not how it is. And so, yeah, there's definitely perks to both. Absolutely. Do you kind of encourage one over the other? Like if someone comes to you and says, "What should I do? Should I do traditional or self?" Do you kind of prefer to say traditional, or do you maybe say self?
I step them back a couple steps and find out why they wrote the book, how long they've been working on it, what their goals are for the book, and what their goals are as an author. A lot of the most successful self-publishing folks I've talked to are ones who just have been working on a book for a long time and want it out. They need to like exercise the words out of their own hearts and get them into the world. Other successful self-publishers or people who where that's a really great pathway are people who already have a knowledge base or a focus on a particular topic or concept or business model, and they have ways to reach those readers. So, for instance, years ago, I did some consulting with someone who owned a winery, and that person was always speaking at wine conferences. And so, when she wanted to write a book about being female in the wine industry, she had a she had a way to reach readers interested in that really particular business topic that she didn't need to go find a business publisher who would build her a business brand. She started off as being a known expert in the industry, so she could easily put her book out herself and reach readers immediately. Um, Also, there's many of us writers, I don't know if this is the case with you or not, but we tend to become a little anxious about getting our work into the world because writing it is one thing, putting it out for other people to judge, to review, to give 0 or 1 stars to, or to completely ignore, that feels a little vulnerable. And so for writers who have been working on a personal story or have been working on their craft for a long time, if folks really feel like they need the validation or if they need somebody cheerleading them all the way through, a hand on their back, that's those are good reasons to do self-publishing, or I'm sorry, traditional publishing.
Yeah, and or there's some people where they just don't publish and they write the book on a scrap piece of paper, or they type it up on a document and they just leave it saved on their computer or tucked away in a shelf, that they're like, I just wanted to write it out but I didn't want people to see it. Which I've seen people who are like that. They will write books or write screenplays or scripts or whatever the case may be, but they don't want people to see it. It's like, okay, I mean, that's, you're still writing, which is good, but I guess it really kind of just depends. Do you have people like that, or like have you met people like that who they have written stuff but they just don't want other people to read it or see it?
Yeah, some of that is process based. There are writers who just love to write, and publishing is secondary. And many of us, when we're in the middle of a book, we get this little inkling of a character or an idea or a topic that wants to be written next. And it can be really fun to focus on finishing the work in front of us and get moving on the next one without stopping and figuring out how to put that finished work into the world. I have a friend, Diane Greenwood, who at 80 published her debut novel, and she published with hybrid publishing house, which is similar. It's sort of a traditional self hybrid. You put in some money and you have some control, but you also are working with a publishing house. And she wanted to do that to build a brand and build a platform and get her first book widely distributed. And then from that, she moved into self-publishing because she, for many years, had just been writing and finishing books and starting the next book. It's the writing process for her that she loves, not the intricacies of sending a manuscript out and trying to figure out who might want it. That's sort of you put on a different hat. It's more of a business hat than a creative one. And at some point around when she was about to turn 80, she thought, I've been writing for so many years, I'd better get some of these books out. And so she's been publishing a book a year ever since. She's incredible.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because there are like it is a different skill set to like yes, you can write and yes, you're very creative in developing stories and punctuation and things like that. But then maybe you're not a great people person. I mean, that's why people hire agents. That's why people hire like that's why actors have agents because there's some actors out there who yes, they're insanely talented on camera, but they're not real good at talking to people or putting themselves out there, which I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, it's sometimes if you don't feel comfortable enough or confident enough to do it, then that's where the agents come in. That's where you're able to get yourself out there without having to really talk to people. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to do some talking to people to some degree. If you're doing an interview, the agent can't do the interview for you. It'd be like one actor who wants to maybe do the podcast or something like that, but they don't like talking. It's like, okay, can I just get my agent to come on for me? Well, I mean,
Oh.
I guess, but that's not really the point. They want to see you. They don't want to see me. So, but it's really good. Like we really, really need to have good agents, good editors too is a big thing too. How crucial is it to have an editor? I know some people who don't bother hiring editors, but for you as a like the book publishing specialist, how important are editors to have?
I think it's crucial. When an author finishes a manuscript, they are the author is so close to it. There's no way to know for sure if character motivations are coming through, if the world building is complete, if the book is really ready for prime time. And when that author tries to send out a book to an agent to get representation or directly to a small press like me, they're competing against countless other manuscripts and countless other authors who have had people review their work. So I think it's really essential, whichever direction you go, to work with somebody. Ideally, if you can afford to hire a freelance developmental editor, that's always what I recommend. Developmental editing is the big picture. It's not the consistency of like, this character's shirt is red in chapter 2 and she doesn't change, so it can't be a blue shirt in chapter 3. That's a more granular level of editing, copy editing. But for developmental editing, you're really having your editor look at every scene and every moment in your story to see if the project has an arc, to see if the energy is there, to figure out where the story is lagging. Often developmental edits point out places where the story doesn't make sense because as writers we get so into the visions we have in our head or the information for nonfiction that we're trying to share with people that we don't see what's missing. And so a developmental editor can go in and help you see the lags, the lapses, the omissions, and the places where you can tighten. And once you do that work, then you'll be much more ready to submit to an agent or an editor or to self-publish.
Is it good to hire two editors? Is that something that people have done where they hire one editor, they get notes from them, and then they go to another editor? Like, is that normal for people to do?
It can be. It depends on the complexity of the project, the author's attitude toward the project, and financial reality that if you're hiring professionals, it costs a lot of money. I have for sure hired multiple developmental editors for two of my three books, not because I didn't trust the first one, but because the first edit was so deep, I ended up changing the book significantly. And I didn't want to risk sending that out to agents or editors without having another set of eyes on it. So, my debut novel I was working on for about 15 years from when I first imagined the setting to when the book came out. And so over that time, I worked with an agent, I worked with, I think, two or three developmental editors. I have a lot of good friends in the literary community, and I did some trades for work that I would work on their book and they would work on mine. So a lot of touches happened on that novel. And ultimately I think it's the complex, whimsical story it is because I didn't let go of it for so long. I kept going back and adding nuances and adding developments and cutting scenes and changing the ending. So
And that's probably the hardest part about writing is when you're like, I love this scene right here, but then you kind of look at the grand scheme of things. Does this add anything to it? Is it necessary? Is there a way that we can condense it? I mean, that's the hardest part really about writing as a whole, where that's why some people will write franchises. Like that's why some people will do sequel after sequel after sequel because, well, I had like a bunch of ideas, but I couldn't fit them into one book, which is a big without saying too much about what book I've been planning on. I basically I want to do it as a trilogy is what I want to do it as, where I kind of have the groundwork laid from the first book, second book, and then the third book. And even just trying to figure out what goes into the first book is a lot because I'm like, this is hopefully what will bring the people in and draw them in that they want to see read the second one. Like, how important is it to really make sure that you nail the first book if you're going to do a like long running series or a trilogy?
it's super important. I know many people who sold their first book in a series and it didn't sell as well as the agents or editors wanted. And this is from the traditional side, of course. And they got dropped before their second book comes out. And that puts writers in a really hard position because you have content and you have a focus of where the story is going to go. And maybe the first book has ended with a cliffhanger or a teaser or some sort of open-ended piece that will be resolved or carried forward into the next book. And when the next book is rejected or does not get a contract, that can feel really awful. Self-publishing that second and third book is one way to go, but it's not ideal because shifting branding in the middle of a series is not a way to build momentum. So I definitely think getting that first one right and figuring out where that first one ends is so important. Um, I wrote Imagine a Door. Initially, I thought it would be like a 200-page book about all the things I knew about publishing, but I've been doing it for over a decade. And I wanted to quote industry experts like agents, editors, publishers, authors, publicists. So I kept adding quotes to my book. And when I got to where I thought would be the middle in my initial conception, I had so much material. The finished book that came out in April is actually over 500 pages. And I opted to cut out the second half of the book. I really thought I could get how publishing works, how to get an agent, how to query, how to build community, how to support your local independent bookstores, quotes from Omar Ellicott, Renee Denfeld, Lydia Yuknovich, agents like Dan Lazar and Aaron Harris, so forth and so on. I thought I could get everything in this one slim volume. And it turns out that this one book is 500 pages, and I didn't get into how to build a publicity campaign for your project. So my thinking now is that that will be a sequel. But you can't, so many books about how to get published and what the journey is like focus on the publicity, but the publicity doesn't matter if you don't get your book out in an efficient and meaningful way that aligns with your goals as a writer. So that's what I decided to focus on in book one. But I didn't know going in that publicity wasn't even going to make it into this.
Yeah, it's I kind of like how you mentioned how you if you were to traditionally publish the first one and then it doesn't get renewed for a second one, that you just go and self-publish the rest. It's like, okay, it's almost like when you have a TV show that's been going on for like 9 seasons, it gets canceled, so a new network picks it up, and then you're just like, this doesn't feel the same. You're like, maybe they should have just left it when they canceled it. And books can feel the same way too, because I mean, there's, I'm sure, like, between traditionally publishing and self-publishing, they're two different worlds. I mean, obviously they have a lot of their similarities, as we discussed, and they have some pros and cons to both. But whereas self-publishing, you probably don't have as many eyes looking at it. You don't have many eyes. Like the first one could be really, really good and very well received critically, but financially it didn't do very well, and that's why they didn't opt to do a second one. And so you're like, okay, I'm gonna do the second one, but because you don't have that extra set of eyes, everything that was good from the first one doesn't carry over to the second one. So, it's a really good way to look at that, really. I mean, and that's unfortunately the reality. If there's somebody like myself who is writing a book with the intention of maybe doing two or like a trilogy. I don't plan to do more than a trilogy. Would you recommend to go that route, or would you recommend to go the way of end book one in a way that is satisfying, but it also sets up a sequel?
I mean, I think having a satisfying ending is important no matter which way you go. We have one of my authors set up the ending of his book in a way that teased another book. And I definitely saw in reviews that some people felt like it was too obvious a teaser. And on the other hand, it made sense knowing that he had a second book coming. So there's a line, and people, everyday readers, if not actual reviewers, notice if you leave too little at the end to wrap up. I just finished reading a YA book that has, I think there are 4 or 5 books in the series. I didn't realize when I picked it up that it was a series. And so I thought the whole arc of the book would be done. And I got to the end of it and it was good. I don't know if I want to read the next 4 books. And if I don't want to read the next 4 books, I may as well not pick up book number 2. So I still have to decide. I did think I was going to pick up number 2, but then I went to my local bookstore and it was not on the shelf. And I was like, I guess I don't need to read it right now.
Right. And would you recommend, because I mean, cliffhangers, people do like cliffhangers in store, or well, some people hate them, but to me, cliffhangers are good as long as it's not, too, like there's, it's kind of hard to describe, but there's some cliffhangers that can work very well. And then there's other cliffhangers that are like, really, that was cheap. What's it like, for instance, like how I kind of have it arced is that the first one ends in kind of a way that's, it's satisfying, yet the door is open to continue it. The second one is a cliffhanger, and then the third one kind of wraps it up. I mean, how would you go about that from like a traditional publishing route? Like, okay, maybe end the second one a little bit more satisfying yet open-ended, or keep the cliffhanger? How would you suggest that? Not just for me, but maybe somebody else who's out there as well too, wondering the same thing.
I think how you have it set right now sounds good to me. Usually, as a micro publisher, I don't pick up 3 book series. And if I know someone is working on a series, I often recommend they look for an agent first, because an agent could sell all 3 books to one publisher in one fell swoop, whereas small presses probably would take one book. And if it does well, then move on to book 2. And then if that does well, move on to book 3. So I think an agent might be a way to go about that. And then I do like the idea of the second book having a cliffhanger. If you know they've stuck with you, the first book has to stand on its own for sure. If you get someone to move from the first book to the second book, it seems pretty likely that if you've held to your accountability to your readers in that second book, that a cliffhanger ending would not be a deal breaker. It would be a leap in encouraging your reader to go get number three right away. So, or as soon as it's published, or to wait for it to get published. So that sounds smart to me, but I'm not a series connoisseur. I do read more series than I publish. And
Yeah,
so
and I
far, yeah.
yeah, no, like I even like anthology shows too, like Fargo, like
Uh,
those types of shows are nice where it's and I've seen books that are like this too, where the first book is one story, it ends very definitively, but then the second one is in the same world, but it's a completely different tone, whether or not a different tone, but like a different story, same universe, but it's might be in a different location. It might be set 20 years before, might be set 20 years after. Like those types of shows are good, and books as well to do that, or even like the Hardy Boys, where it's a new mystery every time, or Agatha Christie type deal. And
I find I found enjoyment in recent years because I have kids. I did a lot of reading of middle grade series books. And so for like, ages 10 to 12, roughly 8 to 12. So those books are full novels and they're like bigger and more complex than the early reader chapter books. Early readers and chapter books are separate, and then you get to middle grade. But one of the things I've really enjoyed watching middle grade authors do is they switch who the protagonist is, and they can continue a series through 10, 15, 20 books, because and every book has a different protagonist. And so the kid who read book one feels like that character gets a full arc, and the story world continues on book two, but now we pick it up with somebody else's point of view. And I find that's such a great way to be inclusive and engaging with different kinds of readers. There's the Wings of Fire series is very big with kids right now. And the first book, I feel like the first book of that series is about a quiet, shy character who's supposed to be a leader and doesn't really want to be. And immediately I was like, "Oh, that's me. That's me. That speaks to me as a kid." But then the second book has somebody completely different narrating it. And so I like that concept of series, especially for kids, because kids all need to see themselves in books. They need to be able to see different personality types. And unlike the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, old patterning of the mystery is always told from this one perspective or about this one character, shifting the lens allows for a lot more diversity and a lot more personalities to be depicted on the page. So that's kind of fun. I enjoy looking at that model.
No, exactly. And then even having it set in the same universe is good too, because, it's you're able to read the other ones without having knowledge of the other ones, but you can still enjoy it. But the people who do watch it or read it are like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a so and so from the first book, or that's a reference to what happened in the fourth book, and so like you kind of have a different appreciation for it if you've seen it. Like they always say, for some people, watching a prequel before the actual show it's based on, it's a predecessor. It's like you can definitely watch it. You can definitely watch the prequel, but you're not going to get all the oh my god moments like you would for somebody who has seen the original, like a Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul type thing. Someone told me that one time. They said, "Could I watch Better Call Saul first?" I'm like, well, you could, but any of the oh my god moments you're not going to get if you haven't seen Breaking Bad. So, and then there's other shows like that too. I mean, like a Young Sheldon, Big Bang Theory type situation, or there's oh my god, there's like so many prequels and stuff like that out there nowadays too. This episode of the Corcoran Entertainment Show is brought to you by Black Box Prompter. Black Box Prompter is a sleek, all-in-one confidence monitor designed for musicians, performers, and presenters to help them build a stronger, more engaging connection with the audience. Right now, you can save big. $100 off any cabinet prompter, $50 off any portable prompter, and $25 off any core series prompter. Just click the link in our episode description and use the promo code Corcoran at checkout. Black Box Prompter, a tool built for musicians by musicians. This episode of the Corcoran Entertainment Show is brought to you by Holy Hydrogen. Okay, guys, let's be real. We all try our best to stay hydrated, right? But not all water is created equal. That's where Holy Hydrogen comes in. They've got this awesome device called the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition, and it takes clean water to the next level by infusing it with molecular energy. That means you're not just drinking water, you're giving your body extra support with every sip, better energy, less inflammation, and a real boost to your immune system. So try the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition today by going to shop.holyhydrogen.com/Corcoran and use the promo code Corcoran for $100 off your purchase. Again, that's shop.holyhydrogen.com/Corcoran and use the promo code Corcoran at checkout. Stay hydrated and stay healthy. Do you like the prequel concept of books, or do you kind of prefer? Because I know some people who don't like prequels because they're like, I know what happens anyway. Like there's no tension here. Like, do you kind of prefer that, or do you kind of prefer to see the story move forward?
I do. The prequels I've read have mostly been in the middle grade genre. I am writing middle grade right now too. And I feel like the ones that I've read have worked really well with the pre-existing story world. And it seems like I think Wings of Fire series has some prequel books out that tell the story of the characters before they appear for the first time in the main series. And that makes sense to me. And if you're reading for character, but also the prequels have to have enough plot to work as their own separate show or book.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it kind of really just depends. Like if you have a character who they weren't really interesting in the first one, so it's like, how are you going to make them interesting? Is there enough material there to have
Yeah.
them for a prequel? So you kind of have to really weigh the pros and cons of it. But so yeah, like it really just depends on what the franchise is, I think.
And
um
I really like what you said about oh my God moments, that if you are taking a story world or a series of characters and you are opening up a space where there was no story before and creating new lore or a new backstory in terms of a prequel or moving the story world forward with a sequel, any of those allow the obsessed reader, the really excited and focused reader, to make connections in the work between the different books or episodes in the case of shows. So, and that's really fun. That is a way that a reader or watcher can bring their brain and bring their way of thinking into the book or the series and feel smart. And anytime we can make readers feel smart, it feels good to the person who is consuming your media.
Yes, 100%. And it's like people will go, well, why do we need to see like do we need to see a prequel list? Do we need to see a sequel of that? And in most cases, no, you don't. But if there's a story to tell, then by all means make it happen. Yeah, see, my dog agrees with me. All right, go on, buddy, go. And so he does this every time I talk. He's like, why is he talking to himself? But because some of them say, with some shows, this is just a money grab. Why are you doing this? Do you think, are you in the same boat of quality over quantity, or does sometimes quantity over quality? Because we look at some films, the first one was a huge hit. It was so, it made a lot of money. People loved it. They do a sequel and it's critically and financially a failure. Like which do you kind of see as most important, quality or quantity?
Well, quality for sure. And this speaks to the difference between my press and the big houses in New York. Big houses in New York have the financial capital to chase celebrity authors or to chase a trend or to create a trend and put a lot of money down on something that follows in the line of a previous success, whether it's a success from their publishing house or like for a while everybody was writing dystopian novels. And so the bigger houses would jump on finding more dystopian novels that was hot for a while because they were selling well. But as a micro press with a very limited financial portfolio to take risks, I actually only take risks. I don't want to try to jump on a trend because number one, I'll be too late. Trends are happening in New York. Agents know what is happening and they're selling books to New York. And 18 months later, they come out. And by the time we see them as readers, the trend is 18 months old or 2 years old or 5 years old. So I never want to try to jump on trends. So what I do in acquisitions for my publishing house is look for books that delight me, that surprise me, that have deep characterization, that have beautiful language. More and more in the last few years, I have committed to what I call literary fiction on a joyride, and occasionally memoir, but mostly fiction. I'm looking for stories that are surprising in wonderful ways that make me want to sink into the story world the way I did when I was a kid, reading to escape. I used to always love reading dragon books, and I kind of moved into serious literary fiction as an adult, but now I'm circling back to books that are genre bending in some way. Like if there's a little bit of fantasy, if there's a little bit of shifting genres. We just published a book called Who Killed Won the Gun. It's a debut novel by Gigi Little, and it is a gumshoe mystery. Won the Gun is the name of the detective, of course. His assistant is Two, the True Blue. Everybody has rhyming number names. So it's playful in a literary way, and it also has a genre structure to it. And so I'm looking for things like that that break the mold instead of trying to fit in the mold because I don't have the luxury of trying to do what the bigger houses are doing because I don't have the budget to get the big deals and to give lots of money as an advance, and I don't have the foresight or the knowledge of the track records that they have. And so we do the books we love and don't try to fit them into somebody else's mold. And I think that's what makes us successful as a small press. It's we're doing our own thing instead of trying to extrapolate from an existing trend.
Yes, exactly. It'd be a similar type of situation for like, let's say someone who's doing a podcast where you get an opportunity to interview a guest that doesn't fit the vibe of your podcast. You're like, this person's big and it's and who knows what it could do. Like if you were to get like someone ever said like, would you ever interview like a politician in your town or something like that? Or if you had the chance to interview the prime minister, would you do it? And I'm kind of like, heat of the moment, I say yes, because that'd be amazing. Think of how many people would listen and all that stuff like that. But then I kind of think about it and I'm like, what would I talk about? Am I comfortable enough to talk about politics with a politician? Like it's to me, I'm like, and plus it is an entertainment podcast too. So you mean like if we steer too far in that direction where we're not talking about entertainment, it's one thing to talk with a politician about entertainment, but if you're talking with a politician about politics on an entertainment podcast, then you're kind of like, what am I doing here? Like, so
Exactly.
it's really
And
interesting. Yeah.
and other podcasts could do that better, right? Podcasts that are about politics could do that political
Hmm.
interview in a way that you as an entertainment podcast wouldn't. But to your point, the intersection of politics and entertainment. Now there's a politician talking about a particular aspect of entertainment culture or their favorite books and movies or whatever, that something that would intersect with your mission would make sense. But a straight up politics show would make more sense that a political podcast would pick that up. So I feel the same way about the books we publish. I kind of know if it's a Forest Avenue book or might be a Forest Avenue book, and everything else kind of drops away because I just know. And that's not about this feels so important to tell writers and create other creatives. It's not about the quality of the book. It's just about whether or not it fits our sensibilities and how we see ourselves as a press and how we want to add. It's almost like when we are adding to our book catalog at Forest Avenue, it's almost like we are adding sequel upon sequel upon sequel. And none of our authors are connected and they're not writing a continuation of the same story or immersing the reader in the same story world as the last person's book, but it is a continuity a line between all the books we publish. They have things in common, and one after the other adds to the conversation and the understanding of what Forest Avenue is and how we at the moment define literary fiction on a joyride versus how we defined it 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Two different times, I guess you could say. Like it'd be um, what's something there? Like yeah, like finding the right time zone or like the time frame to talk about something. It'd be like talking about guys. Oh my God, you find out what happened in someone talking about say I'm just trying to think of something like something that would have happened, some major event, like even like if someone was going to talk about like 9/11, for example, and they're going to talk about it like it just happened yesterday, and they're going to put out all their theories, what could happen, blah blah blah, and then you kind of just go, but this happened like this happened like 20 years ago. Like we've already figured out what's going on. This happened years ago. All of our answers or our questions were answered. So it's staying modern too is a big thing too, and staying relevant. So then like that way you're not you're not stuck in the past. Like people who will hear an interview talking about oh my God, guys, Jimmy Kimmel just got canceled. Yeah, this happened 2 months ago now. Like, why are we talking about this now? Which that's important too for podcasts. Even, well, I mean, if you're going to talk about it in a book, I guess you could say, depends on what the book is. If you're talking about cancel culture or whatever the case may
Sure.
be.
Well, I would say too, so I write historical fiction and I tend to add a magical, whimsical element to my historical fiction because it gives me license to create a space for the modern reader. My historical fiction is speaking to, hopefully, people now. And so I'm trying not to replicate the prejudices and the horrors. I'm trying to examine them from now looking back. And there's a little bit of play involved in adjusting historical stories and timelines to match modern day sensibilities. But I don't want to create damaging stereotypes or put really horrible things into the world in my fiction. I want people to be delighted by it. That's just my brand and how I do things. So when I write historical fiction, I am always giving the untold stories the power. I'm always giving women the ability to subvert the patriarchal society of their time in ways that could maybe be true to that era, but we wouldn't talk about them at that time. I also explore neurodivergence without labels because in historical fiction, people didn't have labels the way they do now. And so it allows me to create characters who are individuals living within a particular time frame that are recognizable to modern day readers without me having to break that fourth wall and say, hey, this is what's actually going on. So I've spent a lot of time in that liminal space thinking about events of the past and how to tell a story about them in a way that feels fresh or meaningful or relevant to contemporary readers.
Yes, and keep them engaged instead of just
Yeah,
being like, I'm here to learn something new. I'm not
yeah.
here to rehash the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
There are
that's always
plenty of
very important.
there are plenty of great nonfiction authors who focus on historical stories, and there are plenty of great historical novelists that focus on what it really was like in the time. And so when I add magic to my historical books, it gives me that permission to not reduce characters in harmful ways that might have been true to that time.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's a great way to be is be careful with it. Be is this going to fit it like always good to think about the audience, or the reader, what's the reader going to think about this? Is somebody going to notice this, like you kind of start thinking about those different things too. I mean, like it's something that the author might say, they won't pick it out. I do that with the plays I write and put on where I'm like, oh, no one's ever gonna find that out. And then, oh, nope, someone's gonna come to me later and say, hey, I noticed that, you said this, but at that time in history, that never happened. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, thanks. Well, thanks for letting me know that. But so feel free to tell me your latest book. It came out in April, I believe. Imagine a
Yes.
Door, and behind you, you do have the a copy of it behind you. What
Yeah.
can you tell us about the book? Where can people get it, and what's it about?
The subtitle is A Writer's Guide to Unlocking Your Story, Choosing a Publishing Path, and Honoring the Creative Journey. And I wrote Imagine a Door because as a writer for so many years, I didn't have access to information about publishing until I became a publisher. And then it felt like my mission was A, to publish people's books, but B, to talk to lots of writers about how publishing works so that I could bring them into an industry that is notoriously hard to understand from the outside. And so Imagine a Door is kind of like the culmination of my hero's journey as a publisher, where I've gone out into the world and I've trekked through the wasteland and I've fought the dragon or multiple dragons, and I've come home with information about the journey. And so I think I have 75 plus authors, editors, publishers quoted in the book, agents also. And it really is for anybody who is just starting out in the middle of their first book, or anybody who's published a couple books and is feeling lost on the path, or feeling like they have forgotten the heart piece or gotten so dejected and demoralized from the publishing piece that they've stopped writing. It's in much of the beginning as an invitation to call yourself a writer, to play with the work, to practice ways of getting to the page that take some of the pressure off so you can create something that's meaningfully yours instead of trying to build a story for New York, for instance. And then midway through, it gets more and more into how to choose between agents or small presses or hybrid presses or self-publishing, and how if you decide to self-publish, you can find reputable editors and designers to help you make your product as good as it can be. And then it moves into rejection resilience and how to keep going when you get no's, which to me feels like so much a part of the creative journey, no matter what your art is. When you ask people to engage with that art, you are asking for them to judge your soul, to judge your creativity, to judge your views of the world and how you see things. And that's really hard and scary. And so a lot of the book is about shoring up your identity as a creative person. And that translates across fields, for sure.
Oh, I've like fantastic. And like, as you said, rejection is a part of it too. It's something, unfortunately, people have to go through that. People are going to have to go through that at some point, not just with the arts, but they're going to go through it with anything really. And so just getting to instill in them that, rejection, resilience, it's good to just, have a good head on your shoulders about everything. Not every rejection is bad. It's just, not everything's for you. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah,
like when people break up and they're like, it's not you, it's me,
yeah, totally. I find that a lot with Forest Avenue because writers I know and admire submit to us, and I have the hard moment of looking at their work and trying to decide if this actually is a fit, or if I want the work because I love the author or I love the author's first book. And often I have to say no to people I admire so much because I can just tell it is not a fit. And that's just how it works. And so that makes me even more impassioned to go out and tell all the writers and all the creative people that a rejection is part of the process, and it's just how the industry is wired. It's not a personal refusal of your talent or of your art.
Yep, it's not you, it's me, you know?
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
That's it, exactly. And it's good for people to know that for sure. So, guys, be sure, we're going to put the link to Laura's website in our episode description. Be sure to go check that out. And
And
yeah.
Imaginador is available at your local bookstore because we have distribution. You should be able to go in and hopefully it'll be on the shelf in the writing craft section. It's also available wherever books are sold.
Oh, okay, fantastic, fantastic. So yeah, Amazon, guys, too, Barnes and Noble, all that stuff. Chapters probably too.
Oh,
I'm sure it'd be
yep.
at. Fantastic, Laura. I've learned a lot too. I mean, as I'm going through this process too, I'm sure others listening are gonna take a lot from it. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for helping inspire others. Thank you for creating this press to really help people who are struggling to get their name out there or to publish a book or write a book or whatever the case may be. You're helping them find their voice, and thank you for that. And let's definitely stay in touch for sure,
I
because
love that.
I've got lots of ideas, and I love to pick your brain.
Excellent. And I'm really excited you're working on a trilogy. And I've been thinking a lot about how series works in middle grade. So that's been really fun to chat with you about the endings of your three books and how you're feeling about working on them. So there's more conversation to come, I'm sure. I'd love that.
Yes, 100%. I will be in touch for sure. I will be in touch. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to the Corcoran Entertainment Show today. We'll see you guys in the next episode. But until then, this is Frankie and Laura signing off. Cheers, Laura.
Bye.